think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Here we are. I mean, we're now full-blown in the Christmas season. Merry Christmas. I'll be the first to say it if you haven't heard it already. First Sunday of Advent. If there are people out there that observe Advent, first candle was lit yesterday, for a lot of people out there. It is a great season of hope and expectation, and also, I mean, and you know, we always talk about the first coming of Christ with Christmas for obvious reasons. The baby in a manger, Christ condescending, you know, coming down into this world on our behalf. But you know what's interesting, and I realized this, and I think I've realized this before, is that a lot of the things that you will hear, a lot of these verses, Joy to the World, for example, as a Christmas carol, if you actually read those verses, it's very much about the second coming of Christ. And that is what I was hearing a lot yesterday, which was a lot of these, I guess, anticipatory celebrations are also really pointing to the second coming of the Lord Jesus as well. So I know everybody's out there that, you know, gonna be getting gifts for everybody. I wanted to start we've got a lot of news to get to in the show, but I wanted to start this program because you guys know, if you guys have been following me for any amount of time at all, that Christmas is my favorite time of the year. This really is where I get excited. And so I guess over the Thanksgiving holiday, got to spend a lot of time with my family, got to spend a lot of time one-on-one with my wife. We were watching Christmas movies. We just decided to start watching Christmas movies, I guess, this past weekend. We also kicked off our Lord of the Rings season. Again, you'd have to be listening to me for a while to know what I'm talking about. Anyway, we decided to watch White Christmas. And that movie is still just such a classic with Bing Crosby. And I would encourage you guys, if you haven't seen it in a while, see it. And the whiteboard, or what we have up on the board, just for today only, because it was a Thanksgiving reference. It's no longer Thanksgiving, so I figured for one day only. I just want, I've got the words, just General Waverly. So if you've seen White Christmas, you know General Waverly, you know who he is, and you know what all those people, what all those soldiers did just to make him feel appreciated, just to tell them essentially that they love him. So I got to thinking as I was watching that movie, I looked over at my wife and I said, you know what? This Christmas, I want to find a General Waverly in my life, and I just want to do something to let them know. I want to do something to let them know what they meant, and maybe you've got several General Waverlys, but I want to encourage you out there in the next 4 weeks. I want you to find someone. We all have those people, don't we, Joe? We all have those people in our lives, and if you've seen White Christmas, you really know who taught us something, or who led us through a difficult time, or whatever the case may be. Somebody that you're grateful for that you really haven't told. You ever think about that person? You ever think about that person in your mind sometimes? You're like, man, I really love that person. I really love that time. And you know what? I need to tell that person, or I'm so thankful. I'm just going to encourage you, and feel free to do it, and then text us your story, right? Who is your General Waverly? What nice thing, what act of love to show them how much you appreciate them, what they did for you, whatever the case may be. Find a General Waverly in your life this holiday season, this Christmas season. Telephone number is 870-275-9799. Coming up at the bottom of this hour, we're going to be talking with geologist Gregory Wrightstone. It's always great to talk, get to know him, because you never know what the climate change Nazis, you never know the totalitarians, you never know what's going on with them. So we'll definitely talk to them about, we'll definitely talk to Gregory about that. Also, we have at the bottom of the next hour, now this was interesting because I want to introduce you to a guy by the name of Jason Van Camp. He is a decorated Green Beret who played football at West Point, earned a U.S. Army Ranger tab and Special Forces tab. So he's the co-author of a book, and I know it's Cyber Monday. This book is not out until February, right? But the idea of bringing the troops home for Christmas. So he's the author of this book called Deliberate Discomfort that tells the story of a lot of special operations forces, a lot of these types of guys, and how they have to get used to being comfortable being uncomfortable because, they're in the line of fire so often. And I saw that headline. I was just like, I need to have this guy on the show and see what's going on. So we'll be talking with decorated Green Beret Jason Van Camp again at 7:30 this morning. Now, in the meantime, we have a lot of news to get to. Okay? We have the fact that Joe Biden is in the news. We have, you saw the finger bite. Joe just looked at me and bit his finger. He didn't. Joe does. Yeah, I can't believe that he did that. I honestly cannot believe that Joe Biden, his wife Jill, introducing him. She puts her hand back like this, and it's like referencing Joe Biden, and it gets a little close to Joe's face. So Joe decides to bite her finger, and they make a big little fun joke. But of course, everybody was taking. First of all, you have video of the incident. It's very creepy. But then you got all these people taking photos, and so there's all these photos now of Joe Biden with a finger in his mouth going around. And that's just gonna get more and more meme worthy. I'm sure there's all kinds of memes about Joe Biden sucking his wife's finger or biting his wife's finger. The telephone number 870-275-9799 if you want to contribute to the program. Do we have that for folks on the line right now? Can we those of you guys who are watching up at conduitnews.com or facebook.com/conduitnews, go to this one. Go to this Twitter. This is a different clip, but for some reason it resurfaced during the holidays, and I don't know if it's because you had all of the family members gathered around Thanksgiving and they were talking about Joe Biden and maybe this kind of. But back when Joe Biden told the story of Corn Pop, you remember this? He tells the story of Corn Pop, and everybody was like, "What's he talking about? What a weirdo!" Well, he also said this. So the Corn Pop story was not the weirdest thing he said that day. He also talked about his blonde hair on his legs, the hair on his legs. And keep in mind, for those of you that can't watch this, first of all, you're welcome. You're blessed today. But he's also surrounded by kids. Go ahead, Joe. Listen to this.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again.
What?
They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Oh, my
and I tell you what,
goodness. Stop.
And by the way, I sit on the stand.
Goodness. All right. Well, so that was, just to let you guys know, that was everywhere over the thing. For some reason, this video popped back up or was discovered for the first time about a campaign event that happened, 2-3 months ago. And that is a very weird, and by the way, his tour bus around Iowa is Joe No Malarkey. And so people are now captioning that and making fun of that. Here's the finger thing. Joe Biden just bit his wife's finger on stage at a campaign event. What on earth is happening? This was in Iowa. Listen.
To the President of the United States.
Perfectly social. It's perfectly acceptable. Perfectly acceptable. Hey, you know what? And I know this is all. I know you're not going to hear much this holiday season from the news media because they want to impeach Trump. Phase 2, by the way, of impeachment starts today. Have you heard about this? Jerry Nadler's committee, it was in the House Intel. Now it's going to the Judiciary Committee. So it's now phase 2 of the impeachment circus. President saying he's not going to testify. I think he's got a NATO meeting sometime today. Oh, by the way, did you see the photos of the White House and decorated with all the Christmas decor? Absolutely beautiful. Do you guys remember when it was acceptable to say, I want to go to Washington, D.C., and I want to shake things up? Or I want to be an agent of change. Or, there used to be people that would say this all the time to get into office. Washington is broken, and we need better leadership. The American people have been voting for the folks, Democrat and Republican, that say that exact phrase or some version of it for decade upon decade. I mean, maybe the entire time our country's been a nation. And now, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, is actually doing it. It may have been done in the past, but in this case, he's one guy who was voted into office by us, and he actually is making the people in Washington uncomfortable. He makes the deep state uncomfortable. He makes just the whole town uncomfortable. Like, he's doing and the Democrat Party, okay, they are essentially trying to run on, if you really think about it, you dissect their words, we've got to get him out of office because he's too disruptive to Washington, D.C. He's too disruptive to the status quo. I mean, I kind of just had this moment this weekend, and I read a piece about this, and I can't remember exactly. I've read so much over the last 4 or 5 days, so you have to forgive me. I've tried to make as many notes as I could. But if you really think about it, and you really dissect the problem the Democrats have with Donald Trump, it's that he's actually an agent of change. Call it a disruptor. I've compared it that they were reacting to him like he's a virus, and they're an immune system trying to figure out what's going on. I guess from my standpoint, that's what the American people have always wanted, isn't it? Now, you may not agree on every single policy, but there has been, I feel like, a solid agreement among certainly independents and some on the left and all of us on the right that believe that there's nothing that they have a pretty comfortable life. The political class, the bureaucracy, what we now know as the deep state, they just don't even want to respect the will of the American people at all. They think they should be the ones deciding foreign policy. They think they should be the ones deciding what goes on from the executive standpoint. But it's really interesting that the Democrat Party is essentially saying, oh, no. He's disrupting things too much. He's changing things too much. When in reality, both the Republican and Democrat parties have just basically been taking us in the same direction for a long time. It's just kind of like, there's not a whole lot of difference in terms of results. A lot of difference in rhetoric, A lot of difference in rhetoric. What we're promising. Telephone number again, 870-275-9799. We're going to break for 1 minute and be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. We do have an update on, what do you want to call it? Chinagate, Asa Hutchinson, the law firm. We have an update on that. I'll give you that today. Back in just a moment. Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its...
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us this morning. Okay, so we got a couple things going on tonight. First off, in the Northeast Arkansas area, you have the Northeast Arkansas Tea Party meeting tonight. That's going to be at Barn Hills, the restaurant there. That's going to be taking place. And interestingly enough, the Conduit for Commerce co-founders, Joe Maynard and Brenda Vassar-Taylor, will be there speaking, presenting. So I would encourage everybody to show up because it's going to be educational, like it always is. So make sure that you are there for that. The telephone number, once again, 870-275-9799. Over the holidays, maybe, who cares, honestly, but Michael Bloomberg decided to get in. This other, this billionaire who is going to run as a Democrat, but he was a Republican, but like the worst kind of Republican ever. The former mayor of New York that wanted to ban things like soda, wants to take your choices away. So this was Michael Bloomberg at like an international monetary conference. This billionaire guy, and I think he's being questioned by Christine Lagarde from the IMF. And this is what I want you to listen to this, because this is a problem, but it's an opportunity to teach folks just how statist these people are, how much they want to control us and what we do. They believe that they know better how to live our lives, so they want to build some sort of choice architecture to this whole thing. Listen to this. Here's Michael Bloomberg, by the way.
Say, well, taxes are regressive, but in this case, yes, they are. That's the good thing about them, because the problem is in people that don't have a lot of money. And so higher taxes should have a bigger impact on their behavior and how they deal with themselves. So I listen to people saying, oh, we don't want to tax the poor. Well, we want the poor to live longer so that they can get an education and enjoy life. And that's why you do want to do exactly what a lot of people say you don't want to do. The question is, do you want to pander to those people, or do you want to get them to live longer? And there's just no question. If you raise taxes on full sugary drinks, for example, they will drink less, and there's just no question that full sugar drinks are one of the major contributors to obesity, and obesity is one of the major contributors to heart disease and cancer and a variety of other things. So it's like saying I don't want to stop using coal because coal miners will go out of work. Well, will lose their jobs. We have a lot of soldiers in the United States, in the U.S. Army, but we don't want to go start a war just to give them something to do. And that's exactly what you're saying when you say, well, let's keep coal killing people because we don't want coal miners to lose their jobs. The truth of the matter is there aren't very many coal miners left anyways, and we can find other things for them to do. But the comparison is a life or a job, or taxes or life. Which do you want to do? Take your poison.
So it's regressive, it is good. There are lots of tax experts in the room and fiscal experts, and I'm very pleased that they hear you say that. And they all say the two things in life which are absolutely certain. One is death, the other one is tax.
Stop.
So you use one to defer the other one.
A 2018 meeting of the IMF. Okay, so that should be terrifying. It's almost like these people wake up and you see how his brain, you see how he can't even make a rational argument. We're talking about raising taxes on sugary drinks because you think you know better than poor people because they're just too stupid to not. Okay, that's what you're talking about there. And then you go into something else that you have no business regulating either. Right? You jump from that to coal, to eliminating coal altogether, right? It's like if you're thinking about how their minds work, it's really sick to want to have that kind of control over a population. It's really sick, isn't it? Do any of you want to have that kind of control over people's choices? If you do, you need to stop and think and be like, man, why do I want to dominate somebody else? Why am I uncomfortable with freedom? Why am I uncomfortable with people going to get sugary drinks? Now, listen, Arkansas is one of the most obese states in the country. There's no question about it, right? But are we willing to have, and see, look, this is why socialized medicine is so dangerous, because a billionaire like Michael Bloomberg can make the argument. Once you allow the government to pay for it, once you say healthcare is a right and you are born into this world enslaved to one another, meaning I am born into this world liable for your healthcare costs, well, then all of a sudden, you can't have bacon, can you? Oh, bacon's bad for you. You should have broccoli. Can't have sugary drinks, right? This is why libertarians, ones that think through the steps, have been so anti-war on drugs for a long time, because Ron Paul, for example, former Congressman Ron Paul, used to say that if you let the government have the authority to tell you what you can put in your own body, any substance, then they'll eventually say that you can't have a donut. Now, that ended up being true in terms of Michael Bloomberg, because here he is, bragging about him banning sugary drinks. And in New York City, they ban everything. They ban salt. They ban, certain types of water, all kinds of stuff. It's all about taking away your choice. It's all about taking away your freedom. It's all about regulating your freedoms away, because they look at you as livestock. Michael Bloomberg and his people, and like IMF's Christine Lagarde, they look at the general population as if you are livestock. And I'm sorry, what kind of person do you have to be? Most of us out here do not wake up thinking up new ways to manage society. We're just trying to take care of our families, love our fellow man, worship God and enjoy Him forever, the purpose that we were created for in the first place. Now, that's if you're of the religious nature, like I am. But even if you're not, what kind of person says, you know what, we need to regulate sugary soft drinks? It's very dangerous.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
And I have wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu a round of applause.
China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of Shandong Ruyi Technology Group out of Shandong Province.
Over the past 17 years, China's GDP has grown ninefold. It's become the second largest economy in the world. Much of this success was driven by American investment in China. And the Chinese Communist Party has also used an arsenal of policies inconsistent with free and fair trade, including tariffs, quotas, currency manipulation, forced technology transfer, intellectual property theft, and industrial subsidies that are handed out like candy to foreign investment.
We've been to Shandong Province a number of times since I've been governor. We've called on people, and Chairman Chu gave us the opportunity to meet with him at Ruyi, at their technology group there in Shandong, and saw his incredible facility. We asked him to visit Arkansas. He did. So Chairman Chu, we're delighted to have you here. I'm excited about signing this agreement with you, and I welcome you to Arkansas.
These policies have built Beijing's manufacturing base at the expense of its competitors, especially the United States of America.
And I wanted to recognize Chairman Lee to my right, who is the founder of Sun Paper.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Yeah, we're working on the volume. We got a solution. 870-275-9799 is telephone number. Thanks so much for being with us today. Of course, it is officially the Christmas season, so Merry Christmas to everybody out there as we anticipate this celebration. I want to go now to geologist Gregory Wrightstone, author of Inconvenient Facts to Science. Al Gore doesn't want you to know. Gregory, how was your Thanksgiving, sir?
Oh, really good. Really good. Got to be with the family and enjoyed a couple of them. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. I'm very energized moving forward throughout the rest of the month. We were just talking a little bit about this. We're playing an old clip from Michael Bloomberg back in 2018 talking about banning sugary sodas. But, he's running for president, and I figure, Gregory, first of all, what do you think about it? And two, how committed is Michael Bloomberg to this climate change nonsense?
Well, he's been a long time proponent of this catastrophic man-made warming, and in fact, he's been the head of an international group called the Task Force on Climate Change. It's an international group, Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. So he's been at the forefront of this for a number of years. I don't agree with it, and what he wants to do with this thing is identify financial disclosure statements for companies on what they've invested in, for organizations, for various funds. Are they investing in fossil fuels or not? But I think a lot of people can see, right, including your listeners, can see right through this, because I think it's becoming really, really clear to any clear-thinking, rational, sane, I could probably add some more adjectives, individuals, that we're just not going to be able to get away from fossil fuels. He wants to go to a zero carbon footprint by 2050 or sooner, and it's just not going to happen with wind and solar. I mean, these things have a 20, maybe 30-year at the max lifespan for each one of these before they need replaced. It's a massive investment that's going to cost taxpayers, including every single one of your listeners, just huge amounts of money. It's estimated the Green New Deal by itself will cost $100 trillion over the first 10 years. And bear in mind, the federal budget is around $4 trillion, and they want to spend $100 trillion. So this is, it's crazy talk what they're doing.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And one of the clips that we were just playing, he talked about coal and how, it doesn't matter if the person loses their job because this is about life and death, and we need to choose life over that job, and they can, find something else to do. But my goodness, I mean, I look at my energy bills now, and I like heating my home with natural gas or electricity or whatever. And sometimes it can get pretty pricey as it is now. I don't think we could tolerate any more increase in energy prices.
Yeah, and if we just look, let's just take a look at Arkansas. If Arkansas reduced 100% of its CO2 emissions, the resultant change, and this is using their own numbers, and I've got this up at my website, you can go look for yourself. If we reduce 100%, it would be 0.0009. So that's, I can't even say, it's less than 1/1000th of a degree Fahrenheit by the year 2050. That's the change that this would make. Less than 1/1000th of a degree Fahrenheit by 2050. And it's well below anything we can measure. And that's if we reduced 100%. And if we look at the United States, if the United States reduced its emissions 100%, we would avert 0.07 of a degree Fahrenheit by 2050. Well, that it's so small, again, it can't even be measured. And this is what we're talking about. What they want to do with Michael Bloomberg and the others, they want to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, and they think that will change the temperature of the Earth. And even using their own statistics, it would be so slight as to be unmeasurable and closer to zero than anything that you could measure. And if we also look, the United States has reduced its CO2 emissions by 14% in the last 10 years. It's estimated that the increase from China alone, it completely blew that away in 45 days. So 45 days of increased CO2 emissions from China from coal-fired plants in 45 days has completely usurped and overwhelmed that 14% reduction we've seen. In other words, it completely wiped that out. And this is what China keeps doing. They keep increasing coal production, and they're not about to stop. Their coal and cheap electricity is going to drive their economy, and that's what they believe. They're paying lip service to things like the Paris Climate Accords, all the while thumbing their nose or maybe raising their middle finger to the Paris Climate Accords.
Yeah, that's what China does. I mean, you can make an agreement. That's why if we ever do get a trade deal with them, we have no guarantee that they're going to go by it. You can't really trust the communist Chinese. And this is news to some people, but I don't think it's news to you, Gregory.
No, and India is in the. I put India in a different category because they have, I think it's at 1.3 billion, 1.4 billion people, somewhere around there. Don't hold me to the exact tenths of a billion, but there's 600 million of those people are living in destitute, generational poverty. And Prime Minister Modi wants to lift those people up and he wants to do it. He's been pretty clear. He says, we need to provide low-cost, abundant, reliable energy to the people of India in order to lift them up out of this generational poverty. And what he wants to do, too, They have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that are living in India cooking over open wood, dried dung. There's an estimated 4 million people die an early death. A lot of those are women. They're cooking inside because they don't have access to fossil fuels to cook over. And those are 4 million deaths that could be easily averted by providing things like compressed natural gas, electric, propane, things like that. And we also, I was just looking at a picture here, a woman in Nepal that had just had cataract surgery. Cataracts are rampant among these people that cook over, indoor cooking over dried dung and wood. Early death, she was 42 years old with cataracts, nearly blinded. And these are the things that AOC and Bloomberg, they don't understand the consequences of what they're proposing, the negative consequences on the poorest among us around the earth. And I'm not just talking, it's here in America, we don't have so much of this, but there are billions of people around the earth that are living in horrible poverty situations that could benefit greatly from low cost or reliable, abundant energy that we can get from fossil fuels.
Yeah, I when you think about those numbers and you think about how much this technology that we take for granted, heating our homes, the energy that we have access to, how it would so help these other countries. And you have deaths that are happening now, and the left wants us to think about what might happen, in 9 years, 13 years, or in 2050 or wherever, and it's ridiculous. They're claiming that if we implement socialism, essentially, that we can control the weather. It's crazy,
It is. They think that the carbon dioxide is the control knob on the temperature of the Earth, and it's just not. And I'll just tell you, I'm a senior fellow with the Cornwall Alliance. It's a Christian group. You can find it at cornwall.org. Great group. But I'll just summarize their philosophy. It would be they believe we should use all of our resources, or they call it God's creation, all of our resources for the betterment of mankind, and do it as good stewards. So we want to use everything that we have to raise people up out of poverty, raise people up out of generational poverty, and do it in a responsible manner. And that's just common sense. Probably every one of your listeners is sitting there shaking their head going, yeah, I agree with that. It's hard to disagree, but a lot of people do. They don't want AOC and Bloomberg, they don't want to use all of our resources to benefit mankind. They want to restrict that and restrict our energy to expensive, intermittent, unreliable sources like wind and solar. And I really dislike solar, wind.
Yeah.
The turbines and just their blight on the landscape, and extremely expensive.
Yeah, and that it's not like if the technology was more viable. I mean, if it produced the same amount of energy that these fossil fuels produce, it's fantastic, to each his own. But, you remember Solyndra? I know you remember Solyndra. You had
sure.
This bundler, and then, of course, the video of them taking the solar panels from the warehouse when the company went bankrupt and throwing them in the dumpster because it was too expensive to keep them warehoused. I mean, that's to me, when I think of solar, I think of Solyndra. I think of it just wasn't ready for market,
Well, and we're not, people when they talk about solar and wind, they don't talk about the front end or the back end. The front end being we need these rare earth minerals and things like cobalt. Cobalt's being mined in the Congo. And if your listeners, when they get off this, or when they don't do it now, we want to keep you on the radio, but just Google cobalt and Congo, and you'll find about these 4,000 children under the age of 12 that are being used in these open pit cobalt mines to mine the minerals that are necessary for these solar panels. And it's not just there; it's horrible conditions in China mining rare earth minerals that are needed, and that's the front end of it that we don't hear. And then we look at the back end. What do you do with them? These things have a 20 to 30 year lifespan, both solar panels and wind turbines. The solar panels, you can't recycle them. They're going to have to go into hazardous because of all these things that are incorporated into panels. And you're going to have to recycle them. Where do they go? And then you got the wind turbines. It's becoming a huge problem with what to do with these giant turbines when they're done. You can put them in landfills, but they take up so much room. If you can imagine these giant turbines, they have to put them in the landfills, cut them up first, and then crush them with bulldozers or heavy equipment. And so they're again, we're not looking at the front end or the back end.
Yeah, I know. The Congo, I'm reading this, the cobalt mines in the Congo and these children, it's a whole new meeting to Greta Thunberg when she says that, her childhood's been stolen.
Yeah.
And she's from she's from Western civilization, and, she would probably want all this solar stuff, and yet these kids are being exploited. So, Gregory Wrightstone, I appreciate you coming on. It's always great. Now, I want everybody to understand it's a great Christmas present, right? I mean, the inconvenient facts. Go ahead, real quick. Remind us.
Yeah, inconvenientfacts.xyz is the website. You can get it on Amazon. Just search for Inconvenient Facts. We're getting a lot of people looking to buy this for their father-in-law or father or mother. It'd be a great gift under the Christmas tree. It can serve to just enlighten that special person, and so it makes a great Christmas gift.
All right,
great book.
We appreciate it, Gregory. You have a blessed week, sir. We'll talk to you again
soon.
All righty, folks. We're going to take a break. We're going to be back. Did anybody see the ABC News story that they wrote about the murder of former state Senator Linda Collins? It was a national story, and it went out right before Thanksgiving. I think the Wednesday evening before Thanksgiving. National media really taking a look at and trying to get answers from officials, and they wrote a story that kind of indicates they weren't getting the straight answer. We'll bring you that story up at ABC News when we come back.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Shandong province in China. I also want to recognize Secretary Ma of Shandong province.
As President Trump said just this week, in his words, we rebuilt China over the last 25 years.
Last November, as you know, I traveled to Shandong province. I met with Chairman Li. I toured Sun Paper Company along with Mike Preston. While in China, we signed a letter of intent on behalf of the state of Arkansas with Sun Paper, indicating that Sun Paper wanted to put a major bioproducts mill in South Arkansas,
The Communist Party has...
Bob Maloney here with a developing story from ASA News, The Parrot. China is coming to Arkansas. We go live to the press conference where the Communist Chinese executive is addressing Arkansans for the first time. Let's listen into the translator.
On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, parody.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Oh, my goodness. There's something in the media every day about the LGBT, RSTLNE, would you like to buy Val community? When it's crazy. It's like we have two Americas, people walking around in two completely different realities. Okay, so this story I saw on November 27th. It was posted at ABC News at 5:33 Eastern Time. A guy by the name of Josh Margolin and Katie Holland with this headline: More questions than answers in case of Rebecca O'Donnell, who allegedly killed a former Arkansas state senator. Now, you got to understand, folks, they're not from around here. They're asking questions about this obvious news story, this tragedy, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And they, like a lot of us, have just been scratching our head with the lack of information from the authorities in a lot of this. And from if you're in the national media and you are used to covering stories across the country, local stories across the country, and you don't get the answers in a timely manner, and it just that if the national media get any sense at all that they're being small-towned, you know what I mean? They push in a lot harder. So this is what they write. They say, along the Black River in northeast Arkansas, the mystery of Linda Collins and Rebecca Lynn O'Donnell continues to deepen. Collins, 57, was a well-to-do businesswoman and ex-state senator, found dead in Pocahontas. This was back on June the 4th. O'Donnell, 49, was her friend and employee who now stands accused of her murder. But still, 6 months after O'Donnell was arrested, there are more questions than answers. In June, O'Donnell's fiancé, Tim Loggins, was in an interview with ABC News that O'Donnell and Colin Smith were very close. Quote, Becky's not capable of this. There's not a chance she did this. Prosecutors and investigators have yet to explain their case or what the motive was for O'Donnell to allegedly commit such a heinous crime. The judge overseeing the case has imposed a gag order so rigid that defense lawyers and court staff refuse to discuss even the most mundane scheduling matters connected with it. Then, the judge, David Goodson, took himself off the case on Tuesday and asked the Arkansas Supreme Court to appoint a replacement, according to Supreme Court records. On top of that, without warning or stated justification, jailers last week placed O'Donnell under the strictest detention protocols, even as they admit the woman has been a model inmate since being arrested in June. Quote, the family was informed Becky had been placed on investigative status and was not allowed visits, phone calls, or any contact with prisoners or anyone else except for her attorneys. Tim Loggins told ABC News, quote, we the family had been trying to reach Becky and assumed the phones were not working or there was technical issues with the machinery. There was no reason given for the investigative status. In fact, we were told Becky had violated no jail rules. So ABC News starts digging here. Loggins said the jail told him that the restrictions took effect November 18th, the same day that the judge in the case, David Goodson, denied a motion by ABC News to have the restrictions on the case lifted or modified so the public could learn why O'Donnell was charged and what type of evidence connects her to the death. Jackson County Sheriff David Lucas, who runs the jail housing O'Donnell, said in an interview that, quote, the Arkansas State Police has requested the administrative lockdown on her. They had contacted us and requested us to place her on administrative lockdown and restrict her visits. Lucas also confirmed his jail staff hasn't had any disciplinary problems with her. When ABC News contacted state police Tuesday morning, spokesman Bill Sadler first insisted that his agency, quote, has no jurisdiction to dictate to a local sheriff the conditions under which an inmate is held. I'm telling you, the Arkansas State Police has no authority to issue such an order. Sadler called back a few hours later to say the state police did contact the jail to suggest that staff might want to consider placing O'Donnell under no contact restrictions. But, he said, that was only done because of the violent nature of the alleged crimes. They've had this woman in jail for 6 months, and all of a sudden, around the Thanksgiving holiday, they say no family? O'Donnell has been, and by the way, it comes as the judge doesn't want to have anything to do with the case anymore. Talk about more questions than answers. O'Donnell has been charged with capital murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with physical evidence. Colin's son, Butch Smith, called the police. We know the story. I can't forget the story. The condition of Colin's body prevented any immediate positive identification. And O'Donnell has pled not guilty and being held without bond. ABC News then reached out to Holly Dixon. Holly Dixon is the head of the Arkansas chapter of the ACLU, said that no police agency in her state has the right to interfere with the way an inmate's detention is handled, and she said any restrictions must be explained and have a legitimate basis. Quote, administrative segregation must be based on a correctional reason, whether it be safety of the inmate or other factors. Sheriffs are responsible for running and maintaining their jails. If there's not a court order dictating something, the state police has no role. Certainly, it's appropriate for a sheriff to listen to anyone having information, but by statute, the sheriff has the duty and responsibility to provide for the housing circumstances of an inmate. Defense attorney, so Becky O'Donnell's defense attorneys had no comment on the matter. Goodson declined to comment. Now they do have a new judge assigned to the case. And after this story was posted, okay, after this story was written by ABC News, the restrictions on Becky O'Donnell were lifted. And she had all visiting privileges, contact privileges restored. So I don't know, man. Why would you want to? Why did they do this when you've got this is interesting here. This is so interesting because you have the state police essentially telling ABC News one thing and then realizing, oh no. So who was it in the Arkansas State Police? Who was it in the Arkansas State Police that out of nowhere, you've been a model prisoner for 6 months, out of nowhere you say you can no longer visit with anybody except your attorney? Why would you do that? I mean, is it... I don't know. A lot more questions than answers. Let me know what you guys think. Telephone number 870-275-9799. We'll have more on this as it develops. Back. One more hour coming your way next.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Set its sights on controlling 90% of the world's most advanced industries, including robotics, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence. To win the commanding heights of the 21st century economy, Beijing has directed its bureaucrats and businesses to obtain American intellectual property, the foundation of our economic leadership, by any means necessary.
Chairman Lee and I met yesterday. Chairman Lee indicated to me that Sun Paper has selected Arkadelphia in Clark County as the location of a $1 billion bioproducts mill.
Beijing now requires many American businesses to hand over their trade secrets as the cost of doing business in China. It also coordinates and sponsors the acquisition of American firms to gain ownership of their creations. Worst of all, Chinese security agencies have masterminded the wholesale theft of American technology, including cutting-edge military blueprints. And using that stolen technology, the Chinese Communist Party is turning plowshares into swords on a massive scale.
Well, thank you all for joining us via Skype from Beijing this morning. Here in Beijing, it is 10 p.m. in the evening. I've had a very successful trip to China.
China now spends as much on its military as the rest of Asia combined. And Beijing has prioritized capabilities to erode America's military advantages on land, at sea, in the air, and in space.
I've spoken at Tsinghua University here in Beijing, which was a treat for me to speak with young Chinese students about Arkansas, and also to talk about the relationship between China and the United States.
China wants nothing less than to push the United States of America from the Western Pacific and attempt to prevent us from coming to the aid of our allies. But they will fail. Beijing is also using its power like never before. Chinese ships routinely patrol around the Senkaku Islands, which are administered by Japan. And while China's leader stood in the Rose Garden at the White House in 2015 and said that his country had, and I quote, no intention to militarize the South China Sea. Today, Beijing has deployed advanced anti-ship and anti-air missiles atop an archipelago of military bases constructed on artificial islands. China's aggression was on display this week when a Chinese naval vessel came within 45 yards of the USS Decatur as it conducted freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, forcing our ship to quickly maneuver to avoid collision. Despite such reckless harassment, the United States Navy will continue to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows and our national interests demand. We will not be intimidated, and we will not stand down.
And we'll be calling on multiple prospects in China, as well as continuing our relationship with Sun Paper in Shandong Province.
In recent years, China has taken a sharp U-turn toward control and oppression of its own people. Today, China has built an unparalleled surveillance state, and it's growing more expansive and intrusive, often with the help of U.S. technology. And when it comes to religious freedom, a new wave of persecution.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program, hour number 2. Thanks so much for being with us. Telephone number 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799 if you want to contribute to the program. Just real quick, I want to remind everybody, it is, this is what I did the first hour. Just want to remind that you got the General Waverly question mark. We're just encouraging folks during this Christmas season. If you've ever seen the movie White Christmas, you know what Bing Crosby and all the boys did for their old general back in WW2, General Waverly. Now, why it is, a fictional story. It just got me thinking as I watched this movie over the Thanksgiving Day break. Anybody out there have any General Waverlys in their life that you need to say thank you to? Is there anybody out there that you think about them every now and then, but man, that person really means a lot to me. They did this for me. They got me, whatever the case may be. So who is your General Waverly in your life? And I just want to encourage you to do something this Christmas season to let them know how much they meant to you. It could be just, giving them a gift. It could be writing them a letter. I mean, whatever. Maybe it's me telling them. Who knows? But I just want to encourage you. Find a General Waverly because you all have them. Everybody's got one, at least one. Maybe you got multiple. Like, man, if it wasn't for this person teaching me this thing, teaching me patience or giving me this advice or saying this one thing that they said to me in this way, this one particular way, the way it impacted me, they don't even know them saying this led me to make this decision that was good when I was about to make a bad decision. And you've never told them, thank you. You've never told them, tell them. Do something special. And, you don't have to make it a whole production like they did in White Christmas, bringing an entire theater troupe, but you can do something. Anyway, just want to encourage you guys. I'm going to do it. I've been trying to think of who my General Waverly is. Telephone number 870-275-9799. So tonight, the Northeast Arkansas Tea Party is going to be meeting at Barn Hills Buffet, and you guys want to be there. It's at the normal time, and you have Conduit for Commerce co-founders Joe Maynard and Brenda Vassar-Taylor will be there. Okay, so certainly show up to that event. There's also, today's the 2nd, right? So there's also a shrimp boil meet and greet for Scott Wilhite, who's running for circuit judge, and Barbara Webb, who is running for Supreme Court. This is going to be in Paragould, so it's still a Northeast Arkansas event. It's going to be at 6 p.m. at the Reynolds Park building. And so if you want to meet those two judicial candidates. Now, these judicial races, they're nonpartisan, right? I think they should actually be partisan. Personally, I think you should be able to run affiliated with the party because it is pretty clear that there are two, I say this all the time, there are two different philosophies for being a judge. There just are. And you can put those two philosophies in a political camp, in a Democrat Party camp or a Republican Party camp. It's just the way it is. Okay? If you believe that the Constitution didn't go far enough, if you believe that, I mean, it's like Barack Obama said, right? The Constitution is a document of, what did he say, of negative liberties. It says what the government can't do, but it doesn't say what the government should do on your behalf. If that's your political philosophy, then you're going to take the law, you're going to take that document, and you're going to try to tear it down or try to make it mean more than it says, you know, in an effort to get out of some of these negative liberties, because the Constitution fundamentally is a document that says what the government can't do to its people. And Barack Obama lamented this. All right? So there are judges that have got to destroy or pervert the law in order to say, well, it's the law now. Case in point, gay marriage being a constitutional right. That's ridiculous. Read the document. Nothing to do with marriage in it. Okay? Killing your baby. It's a constitutional right. That's insane. Read the document. Nothing to do with that, right? It's not in there. And people don't understand that. Well, they had it, but yet we've had since 1974 people claiming they have a constitutional right to murder their children in the womb. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The reason we got here is because judges, they didn't like the fact that the document didn't do what they thought it should do. So they change it. They use, judicial sleight of hand, if you will. Activist judges. They legislate from the bench. So what that means is, if you want to get to know some of these judicial candidates tonight, again, up in Paragould, Scott Wilhite running again for circuit judge, and then you have Barbara Webb. If you want to get to know some of these folks, you just need to ask him, just be like, hey, how do you interpret the Constitution of the United States? Like how do you interpret the law? You know what I mean? Are you an originalist, or are you someone that believes that the document can change over time? You know, that's the question to ask, and you can actually get even more specific with that. You know, you can't ask them how they think about a lot of these issues, because they think that that's unethical, because then how can they ever rule on an issue if it comes before them, if they already have a position on it? But in terms of how they would be a judge, how they interpret what's written, you can ask those questions, and you should be able to get answers out of them. Anyway, so let's see here. We got a little bit of an update on Asa Hutchinson and his law firm. So I decided this morning, you know, we're back from the Thanksgiving Day holiday. I went ahead decided to go ahead and log on to ahlawgroup.com. This is the Asa Hutchinson Law Group. And the website has been updated. Joe, go ahead and show them the Asa Hutchinson Law Firm Group. Go to the first web page, because I want everybody to see this. They have now updated the website, and they have removed Governor Asa Hutchinson. When you scroll over attorneys, yeah, go ahead and throw this up there. I want everybody to see this live. See, because here's the thing. We have the video of us doing this live, so we have this. Okay? There it is. If you can zoom in on that so everybody sees. Right? So Asa Hutchinson's name has now been removed. When you scroll over attorneys, it now just says that there's 3 lawyers. It used to say there were 4. Asa Hutchinson was listed first, then Asa Hutchinson III, then the other 2 folks. Okay? So this is definitely a change. Now, if you click on attorneys, go ahead and click on attorneys, Joe. You're going to then see, you still see the governor's face, but listed first is Asa Hutchinson III, the managing partner. Okay? Right next to Asa Hutchinson III, you still have a photo of Asa Hutchinson. He is now the founder of the firm. The governor's experience has established him as a national resource for his expertise on trade, energy, and national security. Now, if you scroll down just a little bit longer, right there it says they have now added this, because I don't remember it being here. Asa Hutchinson, history of firm, founder. Governor Hutchinson does not currently practice law or have any ownership or financial interest in the firm. So, that is, from what I can tell, an addition. Okay, we now have him being removed in the list, but he's still on the website, and he's just the founder of the firm. Now, again, just because you don't have financial interest in the law firm now, and you've divested, and we can reference the previous statement from the governor's office, the Conduit News, just because you don't have financial interest in the firm now, and I'm glad that that's been pointed out, hey, listen, that does not mean that you won't have financial interest in the future. The law firm bears your name, you're the founder, and the law firm is growing. That is the assumption that I think all of us have to make, is that the law firm is growing because you are getting these clients, Rise Ever, TY Garments, Dragon Woodland, the same companies that have been given taxpayer money by Asa Hutchinson. Okay? Now, there also appears to be what I'm trying to say is, I guess it's hard for me to quantify this, but if you go to the news section, Joe, let's just walk people through this. Okay, so on the Asa Hutchinson Law Firm website, there is a tab that says News. Okay, now for the longest time, the only story that you would find on the news site was from one in October. That one, Asa Hutchinson Law Group expands to Europe. And it gave this whole long thing about Asa Hutchinson Law Group is a firm of lawyers and professionals with offices in the United States and representative offices in China. And then it talks about how they're expanding to Madrid, and they're so excited. And this was October the 4th, okay? And I've been on the website a lot, right? So they have now added a few new stories. Okay, Joe, let's show them what the news tab looks like now. They've added this. It's kind of a hodgepodge of what's happened over the last 4 weeks. Now, it was posted on November 20th, and it's all of these photos that have been the controversial photos. It's all the photos that Conduit News broke and others reported on. Now they're posted to the Asa Hutchinson Law Group website like it's no big deal. Like this is just part of it, okay? This headline, Asa Hutchinson Law Group, supporting growth for overseas clients. Headline, Asa Hutchinson Law Group founder and managing partner, Asa Hutchinson III, attend the residence of the U.S. Ambassador to China, Terry Branstad. It's like, well, we clearly, if we were doing anything wrong, why would we post photos on our own website about this? You see what they've done here? They've now publicized what is a scandal. They've now publicized it on the Asa Hutchinson Law Group website to make it kind of seem like there's nothing to see here. Scrolling down, we have other additions. Okay? This headline, again, the initial photo that led us to break the story, from TY Garments. Headline, this is on his own website. Headline, Asa Hutchinson Law Group founder and managing partner, Asa Hutchinson III, visit Tianwan Garments factory in Jiangsu province to discuss immigration issues. Well, that's very specific. What were you and the governor talking about? Oh, we were talking about immigration issues. It's an oddly specific statement to make. Clarifying it, setting the narrative. Again, these articles have been added recently, kind of like all in one fell swoop, kind of like one post kind of addressing all of these photos that were controversial, that led to the breaking of the story. These photos were not on their own website before Conduit News broke the story. Now they're on the website, and the governor has been removed on one page. He's no longer listed as an attorney. He's now listed as the founder with no financial interest. Asa Hutchinson Law Group founder and managing partner Asa Hutchinson III visited TY Garments Factory in China to discuss the company's current immigration matters separately. Listen to this. Separately. My goodness, it's like it's a talking point email that's gone out to the entire Arkansas General Assembly. I wonder if any lawmakers have told Asa that this looks really bad. It's literally this whole page of news now is like, you know what this is? This whole page of news, when the Arkansas Democrat Gazette finally writes a story about this, when they finally write a story about this, because they're not going to be able to just ignore it forever, when they finally write a story, or when the national media finally writes a story, there are lawmakers that this will be news to, there are people this will be news to, and they will be able to say, see, no big deal. No big deal. It's been up on our website. These are talking points for the coming stories. I'm just realizing this. They have updated their website because they know there are new stories on the way. I'm predicting that right now. They have updated their website because they know there are new stories on the way. Because that reads like one of those emails that they give the Republicans when they have to vote to grow government instead of, sticking to the party platform. That's what that reads like. Listen, Asa Hutchinson Law Group founder and managing partner Asa Hutchinson III visited TY Garments. Again, a client of Asa III's and the same company that we've been giving taxpayer money to, and the governor gave them cash out of the Quick Action Closing Fund, to discuss immigration matters. And why would the law firm need to clarify this? Again, this is the news page of Asa Hutchinson's law firm's website. Separately, Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, as well as Arkansas Secretary of Commerce Mike Preston, and Zool County CPC Committee Secretary Lang discussed trade issues with the company. Let's see. Zooey, is that how you say him? Zooey County CPC Committee Secretary. Oh yeah, the Communist Party of China. That's what CPC stands for. The Communist, the Zooey County Communist Party of China Committee Secretary Liang discussed trade issues with the company. It was unrelated. We were discussing immigration issues. My goodness. These press releases are not news. They're framing the argument. Okay, scrolling down, other article. Again, all of this appears to be added on November because you only see there's one date, right? So scroll up to the top. All three of these new pictures that were controversial posted on November 20th. So this is an older update, but posted on November 20th. Scrolling down. So I don't know. Do we want to assume that Asa Hutchinson was removed from the law firm around the 20th? Then you have this one. Asa Hutchinson and son, Asa Hutchinson III, attend the grand opening of the new Rise Ever manufacturing facility recently constructed in Jonesboro. Asa Hutchinson Law Group founder and Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, as well as the firm's managing partner Asa Hutchinson III, attended the grand opening of the new Rise Ever manufacturing facility recently constructed in Jonesboro. So a lot of this is kind of redundant. You've got a headline, and then you got a sub-headline that kind of says the same thing. By the way, that's State Senator John Cooper in that photo with Asa and his son, Asa III, or Attorney Hutchinson as he's called. Attorney Hutchinson versus Asa Hutchinson, who is not a practicing attorney. Telephone number 870-275-9799. What do you think about these developments? What does it mean that the website has now been edited? The website is now different than it was. They used to have 4 attorneys listed on the front page. They've lost one. They only have 3 now. What do you think? Let me know. 870-275-9799.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Is crashing down on Chinese Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Randy writes on Facebook, on our Facebook stream. He asks, does it now say Asa the Third Law Group? All right, Randy, hang on. Let me see here. No, it does not. I'm on the website right now. That hasn't been that has not been changed. It just still says Asa Hutchinson Law Group. They have not changed it to Asa Hutchinson the Third Law Group. Now, you know, I guess you could say it doesn't say Asa Hutchinson the Second Law Group either. Oh, man. Maybe future defense. Who knows? But, man, yeah, it's pretty nuts. So all this stuff was added, according to this, on November. People say something about screenshots. Yeah, I mean, we got screenshots. What do you think? We're morons? Yeah, not to mention, we did a whole video on this subject where we showed you the website from beforehand. You see what I'm saying? Like, we've got other, like when we initially broke the story, we threw the website up there for you to see what the website looked like. So, safeguards, not to mention the internet is for forever. You have that aspect too. So, we'll be continuing to follow this story as we, get further into it. I mean, there's at some point there's got to be other people to get involved here, other media outlets. That's what I've been encouraging. I want you guys to continue to share the Conduit for Action posts and getting the news out that way. That's certainly very helpful. But I just have a feeling the fact that the governor's office sent Conduit News a statement, number one, is a big deal. The fact that they've now edited the website is also a big deal, or they did edit it back on the 20th, according to what we can tell, or at least the media side changed. I'm not sure when the name was taken off the law firm, or at least Asa Hutchinson is no longer listed as an attorney. He's just listed as a founder with no financial interest. I don't know if that was on the 20th, because quite frankly, I can't remember the last time. I mean, I've been pretty diligently going to this website and looking for changes, because you remember I predicted that I falsely predicted that by the time the wheels landed from the China trip, the website would have been altered, and that did not happen. It did happen. It just didn't happen when I thought. We are now at a point where the story is so much of a liability to the governor and everything he wants to do to get this new tax passed, that he's now taken his name, at least partially, off of the website that bears his name and was his law firm that he founded. He now claims he's got no financial interest. Problem is, will he commit to not having financial interest in the future after he leaves office? And the answer to that is, of course not. Back in a minute.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Last month, Beijing shut down one of China's largest underground churches. Across the country, authorities are tearing down crosses, burning Bibles, and imprisoning believers. And Beijing has now reached a deal with the Vatican that gives the avowedly atheist Communist Party a direct role in appointing Catholic bishops. For China's Christians, these are desperate times.
So, do you like him as a candidate?
I think he's brought a lot to the table. It's not my message. I worry about the party in terms of expanding our base and what the message does to our recruitment of Hispanics, outreach to minorities. And so you've got to worry about the fall election and whether this is a message that's going to carry in Michigan, Ohio, and Florida, and those states that we need to carry.
The American people deserve to know. In response to the strong stand that President Trump has taken, Beijing is pursuing a comprehensive and coordinated campaign to undermine support for the president, our agenda, and our nation's most cherished ideals.
I think you've got to listen to what he says and how he conducts himself. And I don't know that he would be that different from what he is now in negotiating with Vladimir Putin. So,
you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a good thing. We need people who, in the presidency, that understand how the world works, understands that there's a time for bluster and there's a time for reason.
The Chinese Communist Party is rewarding or coercing American businesses, movie studios, universities, think tanks, scholars, journalists, and local, state, and federal officials.
And then, Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, starting the beginning of your day, your week, with us here at the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. Folks, I want to introduce you to a decorated Green Beret. He played football at West Point. He earned his U.S. Army Ranger tab, his Special Forces tab. He's also an author, co-author, of a book called Deliberate Discomfort, How U.S. Special Operations Forces Overcome Fear and Dare to Win by Getting Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. His name's Jason Van Camp. Jason, how are you, sir? Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for saying all that. I appreciate that. My name is Jason Van Camp, and I'm happy to be here, Paul. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So, first of all, tell us a little. This book, by the way, I know it's Cyber Monday, but it's not actually available till February of next year, correct?
That's right. So the launch date is February 18th, 2020, but our book is now available for pre-sales on Amazon and other locations as well.
Okay. So it is available for pre-sale. So let me just ask you this, Jason. Tell us about the book, right? Because isn't it, you've co-authored it, but it's several. It's like a collaboration, like several different stories from people in the armed forces, right?
Sure. So I'm the author, so I wrote this book, and it follows my journey as a Green Beret commander. So right when I got into my unit, I meet my commander, my boss, and he tells me, you know, Jason, in order for you to succeed here, you need to develop this mindset that we have. And in order for me to give you a team to lead into combat, I'm going to need you to meet many of the people in our company, in our unit, and talk to them, get to know them, find out exactly what makes them tick, what motivates them. And once you feel like you have a good grasp on that, I want you to come back and report back to me what you've learned. And the 12 people that I speak with are unbelievable leaders. I mean, we've got 2 Medal of Honor recipients. We've got a guy who is a Navy SEAL, a Green Beret, and a Ranger. We've got guys that have just seen and done some amazing things in combat. And I speak with each of these individuals, and we talk about their experiences and what they've learned in life. And following that, I have a team of scientists that are on my team and my company, Mission 60, and they translate those lessons learned into practical application. So someone can take those lessons and apply them to their personal and professional lives. So really, each chapter is an interview with me and another Special Operations Forces operator.
Wow. Okay. And so I guess you found out, I mean, it's in the title, and I, you know, obviously I'm not a soldier, but it does make sense. I mean, if you're going to go in the line of fire, if you're going to conduct the operations that you guys do in that arena, that you're going to have to be very comfortable in the uncomfortable, right?
That's right. I really wanted to get into what causes people to overcome incredible challenges and embrace this discomfort. You know, what it came down to for me, what I've learned from all these incredible people in these lessons, it really comes down to guys that are willing to voluntarily deliberately place themselves in uncomfortable situations in order to grow and improve and expand and to learn. And that growth mindset is really kind of what we're talking about in this book.
Wow, that's pretty cool. We're talking with Jason Van Camp. Again, he's a decorated Green Beret. So tell us a little bit about, you know, this idea of bringing the troops home for Christmas. I mean, when you're overseas during the holiday season, during the Christmas season, I mean, it is tough, right? It's tough on you guys over there, right?
It's all tough, but we chose that lifestyle. You know, we knew what we were going to get ourselves into, and we deliberately chose that so that we could serve other people and we could defend our country and that we can enjoy the freedoms, and our families and our friends can enjoy the freedoms that we all share. So, you know, holiday seasons over there, we try to make it as enjoyable as possible. Sometimes we're on a mission, so we can't really, you know, enjoy it on that day. But other times, you know, we can fry a turkey. We found a turkey one time, and when I was in combat in Iraq, and we fried it up, made a makeshift deep fryer, you know, and fried up a turkey, skinny old turkey. You know, another time for Christmas, we got some cinnamon rolls that we made by ourselves. You know, so it all depends on, I guess, where you're deployed to and what services are available to you at the time. Many times we were in just an austere environment where there wasn't much available to us, and you just make the most of it. And sometimes those are the best memories we had. You know, those uncomfortable, most difficult times were the best memories.
So I want to be clear here. So in this book, this is not just for soldiers. This is going to take, and I actually kind of see how this would be very practical. You're going to take the mentality of a soldier and having to get very comfortable going into dangerous, you know, overcome fear, overcome all that stuff. And it's like, well, if you can do that, then it's like a technical step down for like the average civilian that doesn't have to worry about most of the time getting shot at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly correct. That's what we do as a company as well. So in my military career, I've met some of the best leaders in the world, in my opinion. Some unbelievable people that I've worked for, and some unbelievable leaders and people that have worked for me as well. And I gathered them up, and I said, guys, if there's any way we could take what we are, and kind of share that with the world, I think we could really make an impact and we could really add value. And the message that we chose to deliver is getting comfortable being uncomfortable is the key to success. And that's how you overcome fear. That's how you dare to win. And that's what our book is about. And so, when you hear these stories, when you listen to these lessons, they're inspirational and they're motivational. But like you said, Paul, you probably aren't going to step on an IED or get into an ambush as a civilian in the United States anytime soon. But we have scientists that break down those experiences for you in an easily digestible and relatable way so that you can understand the so what and the now what behind these lessons that these veterans are sharing with you. And so you can apply them to your own personal and professional life.
Wow.
And that's the key.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm excited to read it. Again, you can pre-order it now, folks, at Amazon.com. It's not available till February, but it's called Deliberate Discomfort, How U.S. Special Operations Forces Overcome Fear and Dare to Win by Getting Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. Jason Van Camp, thank you so much for your service, sir, and your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. Good luck, guys.
Yes, sir. Folks, we're going to make a YouTube video of this interview, put it up at conduitnews.com. It'll be available sometime mid-morning, so you certainly want to check it out. And go to our YouTube channel, please, Conduit News, subscribe, and then click the little bell to receive notifications. We'd very much appreciate that. Folks, we'll be back in just a moment. Going to reset here. Don't go anywhere.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
We're also here to support you. You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them, and they're going to help you. Guarantee it. And Senator English, I saw you out there too. Thank you for being here as well.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here,
money, power, prestige, essence, available now from aristocrats serving Arkansas. From the Nata Rhino collection, the fragrance of backroom deals, nepotism, the aroma of higher taxes, subliminal deception, deep state, Asa. Made right here in Arkansas by a taxpayer-funded Chinese factory. crafted for you. Gender neutral. Nothing says aristocrat like Essence of Bureaucrat. Essence of Bureaucrat by Asa.
Available now in the Marble Palace gift shop.
Paul Harrell parody. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
Here we go. 870-275-979. Call or text that number if you want to contribute to the conversation. This time last hour, I did report on this ABC News report about the murder of Linda Collins and the update on that. You have national media paying a lot of attention to this case, and they're asking questions of local authorities. And they're getting contradictory answers. Okay, now the reason I'm revisiting this is because, I'll tell you why, because I want to clarify something that I reported in this report. Again, this posted the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Wednesday evening before Thanksgiving on ABC News. And I think they even did a segment on it, Good Morning America. More questions than answers in case of Rebecca O'Donnell, who allegedly killed a former Arkansas state senator. Now, if you jump down, it says this. Prosecutors and investigators have yet to explain their case or what the motive was for O'Donnell to allegedly commit such a heinous crime. It's been 6 months, folks. June the 4th was when Linda was found. Or no, maybe she was arrested on June the 4th. Anyway, it's been 6 months. Prosecutors and investigators have yet to explain. The judge overseeing the case has imposed a gag order. Then, Judge David Goodson took himself off the case on Tuesday and asked the Supreme Court to appoint a replacement. Supreme Court did appoint the replacement. Arkansas Supreme Court decided Wednesday to replace the judge overseeing the case. The court replaced Judge David Goodson with Judge John Fogelman of the 2nd Judicial Circuit. Now, I think Judge Fogelman, just so you know, I think he was the prosecutor back during the West Memphis 3 case, which is a whole can of worms, obviously. Back to the ABC story. On top of that, without warning or stated justification, jailers last week placed O'Donnell under the strictest detention protocols, even as they admit the woman's been a model inmate since she was arrested in June. So she was arrested in June. The family was informed Becky's been placed on an investigative status and was not allowed visits, phone calls, or any contact with prisoners or anyone else except for her attorneys. Her fiancé, Tim Loggins, told ABC News, "We, the family, had been trying to reach Becky. We assumed the phones were not working. There was a technical issue. There was no reason given for the investigative status. In fact, we were told that Becky had violated no jail rules." Loggins said the jail told him that the restrictions took effect on November 18th. That same day, the judge in the case, David Goodson, denied a motion by ABC News to have the restrictions on the case lifted or modified so the public could learn why O'Donnell was charged, what type of evidence connects her to the death of Colin Smith. Okay, so ABC News is trying to get the gag order lifted. Jackson County Sheriff David Lucas, who runs the jail housing O'Donnell, said in an interview the Arkansas State Police has requested the administrative lockdown on her. They had contacted us and requested us to take her off, to put her basically in isolation. Okay, she can't have any visits except with her attorneys. Now, that's interesting that the Arkansas State Police would tell a county sheriff what to do with an inmate. Lucas, the sheriff, says that they have no problems with her. She's been a model inmate. quote, has not had any disciplinary problems with her. So, ABC News contacted the state police Tuesday morning. This would have been Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Bill Sadler, spokesperson, Arkansas State Police, insisted his agency, quote, has no jurisdiction to dictate to a local sheriff the conditions under which an inmate is held. I'm telling you, the Arkansas State Police has no authority to issue any such order, end quote. So there's an interesting thing. You've got the Jackson County Sheriff saying, Arkansas State Police told us to do this. And you've got Bill Sadler saying, boy, somebody doesn't look too bright right now, is all I'm saying. And this is kind of getting ridiculous. The lack of information that we have is just leading to more and more doubt in people who are in positions of authority. And it's getting ridiculous. And a screw-up like this happens, and it just makes it even worse. It makes it even worse. Because Sadler called ABC News back a few hours later and said that the state police did contact the jail to suggest the staff might want to consider placing O'Donnell under no contact restrictions. But he said that was only done because of the violent nature of the alleged crimes. That's weird. Arkansas State Police has got this woman treating her like any other inmate for 6 months, and all of a sudden on November 18th says, we're going to cut off your visits and isolate you, and you're not going to have any other prisoners in the barracks with you. Now, you're by yourself now. You're cut off, except for your attorneys. That is strange. That is very strange. So I'm told that there's now been, since this story broke, so ABC News runs this story, and now there's still, from what I can tell, the restrictions have been partially lifted. Okay? I think Becky O'Donnell's still isolated, but she is able to take phone calls with her family and do video chats and things like that. Is what I can figure out at this point, since ABC News wrote this story, catching the Arkansas State Police dictating to local jails how the prisoners should be treated. And you might think there's no problem with that, but according to Holly Dixon of the Arkansas chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union, quote, administrative segregation must be based on a correctional issue, meaning they actually have a problem with the inmate, whether it be safety of the inmate or other factors. Sheriffs are responsible for running and maintaining their jails. If there's not a court order dictating something, the state police has no role. Certainly it's appropriate for a sheriff to listen to anyone having information, but by statute, the sheriff has the duty and responsibility to provide for the housing circumstances of an inmate. I've got to wonder if the sheriff of Jackson County read this article and was like, hey, wait a minute, Sheriff Lucas here. I wonder if Sheriff Lucas was like, what's going on here, you know? Maybe I don't need to be, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Telephone number, folks, 870-275-9799. Wanted to clarify that. As we move on, we're going to be following that story in the days to come. I'm sure of it. National headline for you: the White House has refused to participate in Jerry Nadler's impeachment inquiry. We're going to get to hear about this for the foreseeable future. You know, they're going to have a distraction because the Inspector General report is out on June 9th. Now, Devin Nunes, and folks, I would encourage you to go back and listen to the Conduit News Devin Nunes interview that we had. This was over a year ago, but we're kind of in the exact same place. We're all waiting. Have you seen all the memes of Sean Hannity in like the year 2035? And he's super old, and the headline is IG report is expected any day now. You know what I mean? Like it's just still covering the same story, because what we're all anticipating, let's be honest, we have the blueprint. We know what the deep state did, but will there be any consequences for it? Will it be a slap on the wrist? Now, what you're going to hear the next couple of days, is you're going to hear leaks about the Inspector General report and how it's a big nothing burger, how it's not what the right said it was going to be, and how this person is actually going to be exonerated. Folks, there are going to be... See, if the media can start to tell you now that it's a giant nothing burger, then you'll be more likely to believe that it's a giant nothing burger when they tell you it's a giant nothing burger after it's released. You see what I'm saying? So they're setting you up mentally here. Okay, we don't even know what's in the report yet, and they're already running stories about how it's not a big deal. Michael Horowitz and whatever. What you don't understand is the information in that report is going to be pretty damning from what I can gather. And that doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be indictments, though. There are not going to be any indictments as a result of the IG report. The only thing the only person that's going to indict is a U.S. attorney or attorney general. So you're going to have John Durham. Now, are there criminal referrals? It doesn't even matter if there are. If there's a criminal referral, the Inspector General has an immediate obligation, as soon as it's found, to report it. So this whole time, this IG report has been being compiled for a very long time. He's interviewed a lot of witnesses. And if there's, according to the statute, if there's any evidence of criminal wrongdoing, he doesn't wait and reveal it all at the end of the report. He immediately reports it. And pretty sure he's been talking to John Durham this whole time. So if Horowitz finds something that's criminal, yes, will it make the final report? Maybe. But it's going to go directly up the chain. That's how it works. If it's directly criminal and not just, looks bad. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But the media is scared to death of this report because let's just do the exercise. Let's do the exercise that we talk about all the time. In this day and age, and this is unfortunate, and it's also very scary because it's bad for freedom, but in this day and age, whatever the mainstream media tells you, if you will believe the 180-degree opposite of it, you will most likely be correct. And I hate saying that. That's a scary thing to do, but just try it. So if they tell you that the IG report's a big nothing, or if they tell you that McCabe is exonerated, or there's not going to be anything bad happen to James Comey, why don't you just believe the opposite and see what happens? Here's your meme of the day, by the way. Speaking of nibbling, Joe Biden nibbling on his wife's finger. This is a superhero Dawn. Oh, did you see the photo of Donald Trump over the holiday weekend superimposed on Rocky's body? And then the people over in Hong Kong. Oh, we didn't even talk about that. We'll have to do that tomorrow. But the president signing the bill, standing up for Hong Kong's freedom. I wonder if anyone's going to ask. The governor if he supports a free Hong Kong. I wonder if that would jeopardize any of the communist Chinese deals that we have going. Does he support a free Hong Kong? So the Chinese Hong Kong protesters, they start holding up these photos, these posters of Donald Trump. It's Rocky. The left loses their mind. Anyway, superhero Don is on Instagram, and he posts that classic meme of the Real Housewives pointing their finger. And normally there's a cat, but instead it's just Joe Biden sucking on his wife's finger. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's pretty funny. Those of you who haven't seen the Joe Biden biting on his wife's finger, it's the weirdest thing on the internet right now. Well, I don't know what to say. I'm not going to say it's the weirdest thing on the internet. I'm sure there's way weirder things, but in politics, it's certainly strange. That's a strange man. That is a strange dude. Folks, happy Monday. Arkansas, be safe. We'll see you here tomorrow.